So good morning, respected chairpersons. The topic of my presentation is an atypical and severe form of retinopathy of prematurity, the blister ROP. As we all know that retinopathy of prematurity is a potentially blinding vasoproliferative disease affecting the retina of premature infants and is as classically described as passing through 5 stages from the demarcation line to the total retinal detachment. In addition to this classical description, we have another form of ROP, which is known to be rapidly progressive, where the absence of the typical stages has flat neovascularization and a prominent plus disease. In this study, we describe the demographic profile, clinical presentation, and treatment outcomes of an atypical and severe form of ROP in Zone 1. We did a retrospective review of clinical records of preterm infants presenting with atypical posterior configurations in Zone 1 between September 2018 to June 2020. The demographic details, morphology of presentation, and interventions done were recorded, and outcomes included progression to stage 5 ROP or regression with delineation of vascular arcades and flattening of the retina. A total of 11 infants with this pattern were included. The mean gestational age at presentation was 29.75 weeks with a range of 28 to 37 weeks. The average birth weight was 1,335 grams with a range of 900 to 2,300 grams. The mean post-conceptional age at presentation was 38 weeks. None of the infants were born in the study center. All of the infants had history of oxygen supplementation, 3 had history of sepsis, and 2 had history of blood transfusions. If you look at the morphology of the presentations, the zone of vascularization in 9 of the 11 infants was posterior zone 1, which meant that the fovea itself was not vascularized. And if the FFA was performed, it revealed a severe vascular arrest and leakage. The patterns, these are the 3 types of patterns which we encountered. The first pattern had severe vascular arrest as is seen on this fluorescein angiogram. And there was a presence of a persistent fetal vasculature stalk. And along with that, there was a peripapillary tractional retinal detachment, with sometimes the macula also pulled over towards the disc, over the disc, and leading on to a posterior closed retinal fold. The second pattern did not have a persistent fetal vasculature stalk. There was a spongy exudative detachment of the peripapillary retina in a kidney bean-shaped blister-like appearance, and there was corresponding severe vascular arrest and leakage within this spongy mass. The third presentation began typically as aggressive posterior ROP. It went on to develop nasal fibrovascular proliferation close and over to the optic disc. There was no stalk of the persistent fetal vasculature. It progressed to form an exudative detachment followed by contraction of the posterior hyaloid over the disc and a total retinal detachment. As far as the intervention and outcomes was concerned, the overall treatment success rates were low, 45.5%, and majority of the eyes, 7 out of 10, which actually regressed, had received multimodal treatment in the form of laser photocoagulation, anti-VEGF therapy, and vitreoretinal surgery. This is one of the examples of successful outcome following a combination approach including laser photocoagulation, anti-VEGF therapy, and early bilateral lens-sparing vitrectomy, all done within 2 weeks of presentation. We hypothesized that severe retinal ischemia due to vasoobliteration and capillary dropout in posterior zone 1 and breakdown of the outer blood retinal barrier leads to the initial exudative retinal detachment. There is contribution to the optic disc neovascularization by the persistent fetal vasculature. There is possibly delayed regression of the persistent fetal vasculature, and ultimately there is posterior hyaloidal contraction and a tractional retinal detachment. To conclude, an atypical morphology of ROP in heavier preterm infants is described. The proliferation arises in the optic disc region, and there is rapid progression to stage 5 ROP. Combination therapy appears to offer the best chance of successful outcome. Thank you.
Were the babies monitored with RETCam or just with indirect ophthalmoscope by the ophthalmologist?
So actually, we monitor with both. We do the indirect ophthalmoscopy first, and then to document this appearance, we have to do the imaging. And in this study, all the images I have shown is using the RETCam.
Interventions done by a single surgeon or multiple surgeons?
So, single surgeon, I have done the interventions.
Any more questions?
The laser children, Dr. Diksha, did you see any of them with very high refractive error post-op?
Yes, ma'am. The lasered in this
Yeah,
group?
the lasered ones. Was there a difference between the lasered and the non-lasered?
Ma'am, actually, this was a presentation which was, if laser alone, most of them rapidly progressed to stage 5. So then retinoscopy was not possible because they were stage 5. In those that we had multimodality intervention, we are seeing myopia in them.
So what are the criteria when you decide laser versus anti-VEGF? Surgery is defined.
Yes,
Everybody
sir.
knows when to do surgery.
So in this, from what we have learned from this experience of such cases is that they will be rapidly progressive. So what we do that we need to strengthen the retina. So laser photocoagulation we do right when the child presents. In the meanwhile, we know that this child is ultimately going to land up in surgery because there is already a pre-existing peripapillary tractional retinal detachment or exudative. So while the child is getting prepared for surgery, first step is laser. Then just 2 to 3 days prior to surgery, we go ahead and give anti-VEGF and then followed by bilateral. The problem is that these such cases are typically bilateral and you need to do a bilateral surgery. Then we do bilateral surgery of the same sitting. We don't do anti-VEGF before because it may worsen and lead to a crunch.
So why I'm asking is you had a large number of patients, no? Like most of them were going into stage 5?
No, ma'am. I'm talking of just this subset with this configuration. I'm not talking of the others. And we're just talking of this subset with this profile and this type of presentation.
So any risk factors you found?
Yes, ma'am. All of them, I think it is related to the quality of neonatal care because all of them are outborn. We have not seen this in our own center, and oxygen supplementation, sepsis and anemia seem to contribute to it.